Hey,
Hello.
all right.
Hello.
Hello.
Look at this good-looking group.
Hello.
My goodness.
I didn't realize Matt had dropped out.
Yeah. Matt's on a plane, I think, right now. So, hey guys, great to see you. Great to be back in the GatherVerse. It's been great so far. Today, we got a really interesting topic. I think, emotionally intelligent machines, the rise of empathic AI and XR. Oh my gosh, this is cool. So we're excited about this. So real quick, I know we're running a little bit behind. So I told my friend Chris that we would try to get going here. So I want to start out with a little bit of introductions. Casey Jensen, great to be back in the GatherVerse. I've spent years of working, at the intersection of emerging tech and creative strategy on the agency side, on the client side, with different platforms. And it's all about, pushing the boundaries of what we can do to build really cool stuff that actually solve pains today and actually do things that are going to make a difference. So that's what I'm all about. Currently, I'm head of client partnerships at Zebrar, and we create all kinds of immersive, interactive content and blend storytelling and XR and virtual production. So excited to be here and really excited to be here with this group. So why don't we start with Athena? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Casey. My name is Athena Demos, and I'm co-founder and CEO of Big Rock Creative. Most people know us because during the pandemic, we produced BRCVR, which is an official virtual burning experience. But we've done a lot of other work for major brands, Microsoft, T-Mobile, the United Nations, Google. We've all created experiences that bring their community together, and that's what we specialize in, immersive social VR. And right now, we're on the precipice of launching a new version of BRCVR. BRCVR presents Burnersphere, which is an immersive documentary experience built on a social VR framework. And it's a way of building community while you learn about community. And it's a fascinating foray into platform building. But it incorporates both traditional filmmaking with VR formats, 360 and 180. And we film and we bring that content in and mesh it in with the digital assets so that you're story living instead of storytelling. You're becoming part of the story instead of just passively watching it. So that is me.
Cool. Nico? You're muted, Nico.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nico Farah. I'm a creative technologist, engineer, and I'm a product marketing consultant. I also host a weekly live show called The Emergence. We just had another episode today. I interview thought leaders in emerging tech and immersive experiences. I'm so excited to be here with my great friends, now my new friend, Athena. I'm so excited to talk about emotional intelligent machines.
Cool. Ian.
Hey, everybody. Ian Harrison here. I have an extensive background in experience design, a BA in sociocultural anthropology from the University of North Texas, where I focused on the aspects of modernity, technology, industrial revolution, how things compound and exponentially build, as we see, I think, in XR and spatial computing and polynomial builds. So I have about 5 years in Web3 product market fit for brands. I have a creative as a service agency. And most recently, over the last year, I've built a brand called Sneakar, where we are at the intersection of augmented reality experience design and custom branded footwear so that we can land branded content anywhere of the world brands want to be. So clearly using XR, AR, extended journey telling, as I like to call it. Hats off to Athena and her fluid design as well. The importance of ripple, the importance of impact. Fact is, all we have is what we leave behind, and we're here in this skin suit so briefly. So leveling these tools that we have at our disposal these days, stacking LLM agents, agent operators, spatial vibe coding, whatever you want to call it. I think we need to always be building AI for good. I'm connected to some AI for good organizations, so it's super important that I build with impact.
Awesome. Yeah, and recently we were all at AWE, so we all got to see each other and hang out a little bit, which was amazing. So we just came off that, so we're all sort of pumped up and excited, and it's we get to talk a lot together and see each other all the time on LinkedIn and different places, but it's always something about that in person getting together physically that just changes the game. So it's exciting to see all you again and be a part of this. So let's get going. So let's start as Nico, what is empathic AI and how is it currently being applied in XR that you're seeing?
Sure. I think a big part of this empathetic aspect is recognition of the emotion and the feelings, but also being responding in a sensitive and appropriate way. And that's what we have seen in humans too. When we know what exactly it means when a human is empathetic. So similarly, hopefully our AI is going to get to that level. So, and I think XR is very important in this journey because a lot of times when we're talking to a machine, it just doesn't feel as real. But we know, at least those who believe in immersive experiences know that the impact of these technologies is different. It just takes you away from this mindset of, this is not real. It actually feels a lot more real. So I'm really excited personally to be more engaged in this empathetic, beings.
Yeah, Athena, add anything to that? I know all your work with Burning Man and different things. You have a lot of experience with interaction within these environments. You got to unmute, Athena. Okay.
I have noticed that where AI is lacking right now is being empathic. It can follow a routine in a conversation as it's laid out and do its best guess. But I find it very difficult to actually get an empathic response from AI. I know there's some really good apps out there working on it. Trip released one called Kokua that is supposed to be really good at disseminating tone of voice. But again, it's not actually being empathic, because to be empathic doesn't mean that you just understand the other person. It means that you actually feel what the other person is feeling. That is being empathic. So AI is actually following a conversational routine or the steps based on our tone of voice, based on how it should react. And personally, I think there's some people that could probably use these ways of understanding how to best react in social conditions, or even just talking to one person. But to actually have the AI feel the same way we do, to be empathic, I'm skeptical. But it surprised me so far, so we'll see.
Ian, is there an example of where you've been playing with some of these tools where you sort of felt that emotional awareness at all, or
100%? But I also have to go back to Athena's point. I think we have to build from the heart, and so conversationally engaging with our LLMs, and as these things get layered and smarter and faster and take in more human content, they do build the ability to. I hesitate to use the word feel because I don't think we're quite at AGI level yet, but I will say that I think can build frustration and understand frustration from its end user, and from an understanding of what frustration is, therefore empathize by putting its code base in the mindset of the front end user that it's inputting. So I think it's important to know that it's good data in, good data out always, right? When we're conversing, engaging, vibing, coding, whatever you want to call it, with these things. So back to your point to land the plane, yes, I've been building out a very detailed stack, like 5 handshake API stack of just that. So I built it called Surrogate Oracle. And the sole purpose of building this thing is, like, in an over inundated age of connect, like, subscribe, share, follow, which most of us do very little of once we initially make that first handshake. It's kind of just like showing some emotional blind spots as we become more digital and we surrogate ourselves out into the digital existence. Like, how do we make that more humane? And then how do we prepare ourselves to be digitally protected as we, become more and more of that? I think transhumanists is very much on the table. I think the next epoch of evolution is implant-based, whether it's eyewear first, which I think is what we're all talking about these days. And we're seeing it with XREal to Snap to everything RP1 was just talking about. So yes, emotional building is crucial so that we get emotional results out.
Cool. Let's look at the next one. Let's see. Why don't we go with Athena? Why don't we start with you on this? How might emotional intelligent AI enhance learning, therapy, or leadership training? This is sort of a hot area that everybody's trying to look into right now.
Yeah, it's a very hot area. I think AI for training is exceptional because it can give you so many different scenarios to try to work through. So it's great for improving your problem solving skills, which is what a lot of training is. Like, this is how you do these things, and then something breaks and you have to fix it, or something happens and you have to respond to it. I know that AI is being used in emergency response training a lot, to work through those scenarios of how to best respond and giving feedback on better, more efficient ways of responding. It's being used in hospitals. It's being used for nursing training, for surgical training. So I find that it is an incredible tool to make us better. And like I said, it's being used in therapies. It's being used, especially virtual reality, is being used for therapies with PTSD, various different paranoias, for people that just need to rewire their brain for one reason or another. Either you're stuck in a negative feedback loop, or something has occurred and you've lost some mobility in a hand, or your ability to have a reaction in a certain way. AI helps you build those tools back up in yourself. So it's a great tool for self-improvement.
Yeah, I think they've made a lot of, we'll talk about it in a minute, but they've made a lot of inroads with as far as analyzing tone. It's still not perfect, but also when you can add vision into it to be able to understand facial cues and stuff. I mean, that takes it to another level when you can start really understanding, seeing a person as they're interacting with this stuff, and adjust the training or the mentoring or counseling to that, visual cues, which I think is really interesting. Nico, anything on that?
Sure. I think from my perspective, it is very much around scale and access. We could have therapists before through calls, and we saw that a lot during the pandemic. But now we have the opportunity to maybe create a digital twin of that therapist, and scale that access to and make it more affordable. Or if we are talking about education, we can have personalized education for special needs, and make this accessible at scale. Or if it's about training or coaching, same thing. So I'm really passionate and excited about the opportunities when a lot of people are empowered with these possibilities.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big problem. I live in a big university town. It's a big issue that there's people that are waiting 3-6 months longer to see a therapist, especially young people. And it's it's crazy that, these are tools that can help scale some of that, at least to fill the gaps, to be able to give some people access, whether it be, and the financial side is a whole nother thing that's just crazy and out of touch for many people. So I think the more we can use these things to get with people sooner, and then get them referred to, an in-person counselor if needed. But it's like, there's a lot of people just sitting there waiting and get frustrated because they can't get access, which I think is really sad when it comes to this kind of stuff. So that's great. Ian, anything you want to add?
Just briefly, that I think you guys are spot on. Listen, I think neurodivergence is another huge factor that we could get into about the impact of XR expressly, because learning modules built out to sort of self-drive from almost a Montessori method sort of framework. I think everybody learns differently, and it's great that there's some standard that we can set a rubric to. But if we consider more impact for AI and XR and creating a persona, an educational persona around the neurodivergent student, and then creating immersive learning modules, I think we'll really start to see tailored outcomes that could show, immense gaps. I mean, gap crossing, not immense gaps. But yeah, I think just looking at the neurodivergent side of things as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, Athena, I think this is something really all hot for all of us here is how do we define ethical limits for emotional manipulation in immersive spaces? I mean, this is something that's been, from back from Horizon Worlds and different things that have happened. This is big, and I think it's turned some people off that, were early in some of these spaces, So how do we start to come together and try to define these as a community and make sure that we put in barriers in place so it doesn't happen?
Well, it's really important to set up community standards. That was something that attracted us to AltSpace initially, because their community standards, which was listed on their site, was something that we could get behind. They very much mirrored the principles of Burning Man. So we were like, okay, these people have a similar set of ethics and principles that we have, and we'll be very comfortable on this platform. We have also built out our community standards, also based on the principles of Burning Man for Burner Sphere, so that when the community comes, they know exactly what's expected of them and also what they can expect from the other people that are on the platform. But beyond that, there are organizations that are actively working with companies to help build ethical principles in the metaverse. You have the XR Guild, which has a sort of a working set of principles that the membership go through and reconstruct almost annually to make sure that it fits the way the industry is and the people in the industry are going at the time. And XR Guild is filled with representatives from all the major companies. And then you have the Metaverse Standards Forum, which I'm one of the co-chairs of the Ethical Principles, Principled Ethics in the Metaverse Working Group. And we're looking at all the different modalities, all the different platforms, and all the different ways that they have brought ethics in, who's doing it, who's not doing it, who's created a safe space for their participants, and who is just letting it be the wild, wild west. And you hear about bad actors doing horrible things against other people on the platform, and it is a negative impact to the community as a whole. So if you're going to build community, not just create an AR single player thing or a single player training, but if you're going to have social, lots of participants together on your platform, then it is your responsibility to create a framework that everybody knows that they are going to be working within. And we could probably use that a whole lot in the physical world.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think, outside of some of those things, just, I was an ad tech for a long time. I mean, getting it right in the beginning as far as understanding how we're influencing people and what that influence looks like, and that we need to be aware of that. We're way ahead of the curve in this industry in many areas. I mean, if you think about, just retail and grocery stores, being in them for years and years, the influence that people don't even realize, and there's no standards there really that I know of to be able to drive people to purchase all of that, that box stuff that we're all trying to get away from now. But it's, there's a lot of things, and in advertising and ad tech, some of the worst as far as some of the things that, whether they were done intentionally or not. I think it's, as you learn more, it's like, there's a lot of influence there that we have to be aware of as companies and platforms as well, not just the interaction with the people. So cool. So, all right, next, how can emotionally responsive XR environments be used to foster empathy, connection, and personal growth in users? Ian, you want to take that?
Sure. Yes. Okay. Absolutely. So this kind of ties back into a little bit about neurodivergence, but larger picture macro is feeling like we've got a resource, or as Nico was mentioning, these digital twins of ourselves, even the way I call it is like a meta me. So like back to the surrogacy of our digital presence. I think having an asset or a tool that we build alongside of us as sort of like a companion, or like a way to help us navigate the unknown as we all charter it together. Cohesion is so crucial for like societal movement. And so ways that we can feel connected while we're also scattered around the world is just so important. And so I think that's how emotionally responsive XR or emotionally responsive large language modeling inside of immersive experiences can help us feel individually felt, heard, and supported, but then, maybe help us with the unknown unknowns of where we're missing some blind spots in connectivity in the world as well.
Yeah, I think, this has been sort of something that's been really on my heart lately. In part of my understanding and connection, I was thinking about all the stuff going in Iran. Nico's from Iran. I have another friend who's from Pakistan, and through them, a guy from Texas, through them, I've been able to understand a lot more about the people, the actual people on the ground, the things they go through every day, what they're dealing with. And, I think more than ever, this day and age, understanding and having empathy for people around the world. And we have the ability now to be able to put ourselves in their shoes and understand. And that's really important these days. And I think when I was at South by Southwest, and one of you guys, I bet Athena or Nico have seen this, but the Carne Arena experience that they did, I don't know if you've heard about that, but it was, it won an Academy Award. Alejandro, I think it's Inarritu, I probably butchered that, but he's a Mexican technologist, and he created this, and they were talking about it in this one session, and it really was amazing. Where you walk into this tent, you're blindfolded, you put your device on, you can't see it right now, you have your VR device, and you walk in, and the minute you walk in, you're stepping into sand, and you don't know what you're stepping into, but you're stepping into sand, and it's hot. There's hot lamps everywhere heating you up. You have no idea what's going on. All of a sudden, it turns on, and you're in the middle of a sort of, desert type, area, and all of a sudden you see people running towards you. And these are people coming from the border, and they're all running at you, and you don't really realize what's going on. You're looking around, and people are coming at you, and you hear people yelling and screaming and running. And by the time you figure out, all of a sudden, there's all these border patrol and stuff with guns right in your face saying, "Get down, get down, get down," pointing at you. And all of a sudden you're like down, you're just the feeling of being able to feel some of that through some of these devices. Whether it's that, and I've also heard of, like, internationally, they did something, I know, for Auschwitz and different things, where they had some politicians and stuff going to a similar experience. And to be able to have these experiences where you can feel what other people are going through, no matter what political side you're on to anything, everybody should be able to feel both sides of this, and using these tools to be able to feel and empathetic to it can be really amazing now with some of the technology we have. So that's something that is pretty amazing. All right, so let's see, Nico, if we can teach AI to demonstrate empathy, what might that reveal about how we teach or fail to teach empathy in humans? I think this is a great one.
Yes, thank you. And just quickly, I want to add to what you mentioned on the previous topic. I think the example you shared is a great use case, the perspective taking simulations. A lot of times people are missing understanding the perspective of others. And that's why we have so much lack of compassion in our leaders that are making big decisions. So hopefully they get to use some of these technologies and not just talk about them. In terms of teaching empathy, I think this is just again a moment of time that makes us understand. If we can teach AI, if we can teach a robot or a machine, we can teach humans too. And we should have done that in schools. We should have done that in our families. And it's just a matter of having the curiosity and willingness to develop this emotional intelligence and empathy towards others. So yeah, I think it's just a matter of putting that willingness and curiosity. And there are so many tools, there's so many books, there's so many ways for people to learn this and implement it in their personal or professional journeys.
Yeah, definitely. Anybody else want to add anything to that?
I do. There's an organization called the Virtual Human Interaction Lab. It's at Stanford University, and they have been doing research on this exact topic for over a decade, looking at how we can build empathy in ourselves by using the tools of VR. And they have done lots of experiments and have found that they can actually influence people's actions to be more empathetic towards things like the environment and climate change and each other, looking at racism and other ways in which we're constantly seeing us and them, that they are able to bridge that gap using virtual reality. There are some great papers. If this is something that really interests you, go to the Virtual Human Interaction Lab, VHIL.org at Stanford University. And there's probably, I don't know, maybe 20 different papers that you can use AI to summarize for you to break down the points that you're looking for that are absolutely fantastic. And you can see the research that's going on and how effective these tools are.
Cool. It's awesome. Thanks for that info. Go, Ian.
Yeah, just real quick. I think about the human side, I think, we're pretty spot on how we teach these XR agents. And that's layered and level up and compounding. And I think we need to approach this the same way and realize that the easiest way we teach empathy is get them young. And as parents, all of our responsibilities, and even as non-parents, as loving adults to the future generations, like, it's so important that we teach them young love and vulnerability and showing up for each other, like in the earliest stages possible, and talking them through it and explaining to your 1-year-old and your 2-year-old what's happening, and not assuming that, oh, they just don't get it yet, because it's so important in those early years, like early childhood development of the brain elasticity, emotional response, just like we're training an LLM agent, especially when we're conditioning one to a persona. It's no different than raising and rearing a child.
Cool. Thank you. It's awesome. So, Ian, let's talk about data a little bit. What data is needed to train AI for emotion recognition and how it could be protected? One thing I'll say about this is, I have a good friend, Chandra DeKaiser, that has a company called Voicera AI. I worked with, he had a company before called MoodMe that could basically, was early on in recognizing moods and being able to power platforms using that. And now Voicera is sort of taking that to the next level, really analyzing subtle body language and micro expressions and all kinds of stuff. He'd be a great one to have on here sometime. So, but we know that voice, facial expressions, gestures, biometric signals, heart rate, they need to be collected ethically, and any other thoughts on that? I mean, I've seen some of this stuff with heart rate used for fireman training and stuff, being able to, recognize heart rate and put them through these, really stressful situations, or EMTs, which I think is amazing. Is there anything else in that area that you feel like we're missing when it comes to some of the data side of it? Any of you, go ahead. Yeah.
I would just say that when we are capturing all this data, we need to be very mindful. We need to make sure we are thinking about privacy. We're anonymizing or pseudo-anonymizing the information, and we're using encryption and all the measures to make sure only people who have provided consent we are using their data, and we are making sure everything is in place, so whatever we're creating is actually ethical.
Yeah, for sure. Athena, any thoughts on that?
I mean, everything that Nico said, absolutely. We need to be ethical. We need to, but historically, technology hasn't been. But yes, I agree with you. We absolutely do need to have those protections in place. I feel like most of the people working within the XR industry, at least like everybody that I run to at AWE and Immersive Tech Week and all these conferences that I go to, the VR AR Expo in Shanghai that I was just at, they all have ethical practices at the forefront of whatever it is that they're building. Like they understand that they're ushering in humanity into these spaces. I take it one step further. I think we're ushering in society into these spaces as a playground for evolution to happen so that we can evolve into humanity. Because I don't think we're humanity right now. If humanity is a group of human beings, and to be a human being, you're a humane being, we're not humane beings. We practice it. We're pretty good at it. Some of us are even better than others. But as a whole, I don't think we're there yet. So I think these spaces become a playground where we can try on being good to each other, being kind to each other, try on and practice being empathetic and understanding, learn about other cultures, walk in somebody else's shoes, get trained towards an emotional outcome that is maybe different than what we're used to doing, so that we can take these practices home and teach it to our 2 and our 3-year-olds, because we didn't have the skills before. I think that is where we are right now. But I do see it in practice. And so I am very, very hopeful that that is going to happen. There is one practice, though, that I just heard about in a newsletter, where the legal system and the court systems are starting to use AI to read facial expressions to see if someone's lying. Now, that's always been a person who gets trained to see the tells. We can use a polygraph test to look at, how much sweat do you have in your hand, your heart rate, but people can control that in their bodies. But the minute little facial expressions that a camera can see. So we're training an AI to look for those things. And I worry what that information could then be used for. And I'll leave it with that.
Yeah. Ian, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, kind of to tie on to this, the dystopia here. I mean, you have to want to be good. And so as much as I want to think that humanity will someday marvelously be humane collectively, I think these moments that these conversations are happening, largely speaking, that GatherVerse is happening, more largely speaking, like our target sector, our technology sector, the people that think like us, right? And like why we move in culture groups, sacred, profane totems, all the anthropology behind it. I think like we need to focus on the good and build for good because we have good intent, acknowledging that there are just people that want to watch the world burn. And there is just something that is repeated throughout history about that. I don't think it's just a lack of tools, unfortunately. So I think the more that we can cohese like this and get like-minded people talking about these things in these rooms, and it can get streamed out to all of our socials, and we ripple out with our nodes of people that we're connected to, and Like, these are the moments that matter. And so like, this is the type of stuff that should be protected in a way that is, I don't know, not like patient doctor privilege, but what we give our AI, and especially in the servicey of things, what we tell it and what we build with it, like, that should be sacred. And we should be able to dictate what of that is shared collectively. Now, I do feel like there is a global responsibility, humanely, Athena, that we do offer this into the collective. And in anthropology, it's called the anthropological record. And that's sort of like, what as anthropologists are we leaving to it? What are we discovering? What are we observing? What are we engaging with? What are we impacting? And that's like our contribution while we're here. So much like that, I think ethically, we should be thinking about what is our contribution to the grander AGI transhumanist that is coming while we're here, because the next step in evolution is at some point augmented.
Yeah. So one thing I want to sort of combine two of these here. Athena, from your perspective, I mean, you spend a lot of time building out these environments. What emotional signals do you feel are the most valuable for designing these responsive XR experiences? What do you feel like is most valuable now? And what do you feel like is needed in the future to make them even more valuable?
I mean, for us, it's having a space that people connect to emotionally. So it's not just creating a bright, shiny distraction, but having a space where people feel at home, at ease with their community. And that's what we're doing with Burnersphere. We're creating a space that people connect to emotionally. I cannot even tell you how many people have gone into Burnersphere, take it off their headset, and they have tears pouring down their eyes, pouring down their cheeks. It connects with you, to your heart, into your soul. You feel like you're there on the playa. It transports you. And having that emotional connection connects you to that emotion. We do something and we have an emotion, and then we go off and we do something else and we leave that emotion behind. Sometimes it sort of trails behind us like a knot in our shoulder. And when we can connect back to it, which is why XR is such an important tool for therapies and PTSD desensitization, is that it connects you back to this emotion so that you can enjoy it or process it, work through it, feel it. In 2020, we couldn't do Burning Man in person. So we did it in VR, and that was the beginning of all this. And we created a temple because we knew it was important to have. And that temple was super important. It's a place that you go to at Burning Man where you write on it. It's made out of wood. All the things that you are wanting to release, maybe to say goodbye to a loved one, maybe to let go of something that doesn't serve you anymore. And that release, having that, is very important to our community. It's very important in general to humans. And not having that and going through something like the pandemic, we knew that was going to be a disconnect. So we created a temple. And I saw so many people go in there, and we had a way for them to leave offerings. We had a way for people to read the offerings that other people left if they wanted it not to be anonymous. And a friend of mine who lost his daughter was in there and read his offering, and I got to be there with him. And I got to hold space with him. He's in LA, I'm in Mexico. We're both in VR, as if we were sharing space, enjoying each other's presence. And he got to have that release, that angst and that cry that he so desperately needed in that moment. And I got to be there with him. And I couldn't actually touch him, but I touched him in ways far beyond what we can do with physical touch. And that proved to me how powerful this medium is and how important it is that we, as you said, Ian, raise it. We're the parents of it now. We're the parents of XR. We're the parents of AI. And we need to raise it, give it the tools it needs to be part of this world.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So with that, so that falls into the next thing is around what are the biggest limitations when it comes to these AI models interpreting emotional context in real time? What are those limitations? Nico, you wanna?
Yeah, what a powerful story, Athena. Thank you for sharing. And in terms of limitation, I think technical side is always a challenge. So, for example, the latency, if you're processing these emotions real time, the AI is processing that takes time, and then responding back to it. It may not feel like a human reacting. So, all of those challenges are going to happen until the technology catches up. The other part is about, what we put into it, like biases. What are we training it on? Are we going to have challenges like we had with computer vision when we train on certain races, and then it wouldn't work properly for others? Or the bias towards the expressions or the algorithm that we have. All of these challenges could show itself in this, a new realm, and it's important to be mindful about them.
Yeah, definitely. Ian, I know you use a lot of AI agents for different things in marketing and operations and things. Are any of these utilizing some of these sort of emotional recognition when it comes to they have customer service tools and all these tools are out there. I don't know if you've seen any of that with some of the tools you're working with. Because I think some of the platforms you're using has some of that stuff.
Yeah, I would say the most emotionally intuitive platform that has different agent operators trained for different target sectors within its own product score is Sintra. Sintra.ai, Sintra. It's done a really good job of really nailing down each of its sort of builds within it to do its function well. So the personal assistant is Visi, and I use Visi for quite a lot of just conversational based iteration, ideation, blah, blah, blah. And over the last 8 months of using it, it's gone from a tabula rasa or a blank slate to really understanding my tone. And like when I'm when I'm frustrated about something like I'm coding or I'm stuck on, and I convey that to the engine, it is very good about understanding my tone, whether I'm typing it or conversationally speaking to it using TTS or STT, but it doesn't matter. Like, yes, I think the most emotionally intuitive product is Sintra, and one of the least emotional but most in-depth and truly productive products is Perplexity. And I think you could tweak that depending on which model you're placing your Perplexity interaction on. But I will just say it's the best at like removing positive reinforcement when I ask it to, building out like NP complete scenarios for me when I'm trying to get to through tough products. So I would say like I use whatever core I'm building something in as its base. I use Sintra as sort of my partner, like as I would run to a contemporary with, and then I use Perplexity as my senior, like something that I would escalate to a higher level. And I think using those flows has worked out really well for me. It's not a rubric. It's not like, oh, do these things in these steps and you're sure to succeed, right? This is not like a 1980s cassette tape success quick scheme. It's just the fact is like we have to build with the tools best to accentuate our end goal. So if you're trying to build with like a Blaze.ai, which is really good at creating content quickly, like Typeform and PDFs and marketing content, and you want to try to build an application in its AI agent, you're just bound to fail. So like product market fit really comes into play here, and using the best tool for the best build.
Cool. So getting close to end here, I want to put a big one out here for you guys. So should humans ever develop emotional relationships with AI within XR environments?
I would say yes. When AIs are satisfying our needs more than humans, why not? Dating is an example. In the US, nearly 1 in 3 young adult men and 1 in 4 young adult women said they're chatting with an AI girlfriend or boyfriend. So we're in this day and age that these things are becoming real. And the reason to that is because a lot of these tools are understanding us better. They're not judging us as much. They're much more emotionally responsive. They're accessible, available, and they're just getting better and better. And we can use it for good, or we can use it to teach us. It doesn't have to replace us. It can be used for a lot of ways, for emotional support, for dating, or other use cases. So I'm a big supporter, and I'm using it myself for so many ways.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's something about every morning when I walk the dog, I'm talking to ChatGPT a lot, and it has started to understand my tone, and if I'm sort of frustrated with something, it'll pull that out. But just having, just being able to talk through your workday and what's going on and stuff. I mean, it is pretty amazing how it can really help sort of have clarity on what's going on, especially when you work remote and you're in a remote setting all the time. It's pretty interesting. So last comment, everybody, anybody have some last comments as we wrap things up here? Athena? No, you're good? Ian?
I think we said it all. I don't really have any last comments. I mean, I'm actually excited. I know I can naysay a bit, but I'm excited about incorporating more AI. I use it all the time. I talk to it sometimes to work out a problem, and yeah, it's a very exciting time. We just need to raise it well.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah,
I was just going to say, kind of to that note, we just need to be mindful. Like, always be mindful of what we're giving it, what we're looking to get out of it, and that we're spending enough time, like, in the here and now, to be present with how we're using these allies, these tools, the roles that they play with us in our lives. To Nico's point, there is a lot of emotional support that comes from these things. So I just mean, like, as I mentioned earlier, turning off positive reinforcement, things like that. I think people find easy access into having a boyfriend or girlfriend or androgynous partner through the agents because it's a constant ego stroke as well. And so I think that can build myopathy, and like you could really get into a tunnel vision scenario where you start to believe these things that you're being told are accurate when maybe they aren't. And so I think just being mindful. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, everybody, make sure to go and follow and check out everyone on this panel. They're all amazing to follow and see what's going on. Nico talked about her amazing show that's every Tuesday. Check that out. But Ian's doing some really cool stuff and has some really cool products and stuff. And Athena has some really cool things coming up that hopefully will be announced soon. So stay tuned to her as well. So thank you so much. And great to be together. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Bye.